The Michigan Man Podcast, episode 198. Another great run ends in a heartbreak against Kentucky in the Elite Eight. And Team 135 concludes spring practice this Saturday. That and more on this week's show. This is the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. We all wanted the run to continue for Michigan basketball, but on Sunday in Indianapolis, another thrilling season came to a heartbreaking end in the Elite Eight. There is no shame in losing to a very, very good Kentucky team. All the same, it was a sudden and grueling end to another season we will long remember. Thank you to Coach Beilein and his young team for all the excitement they brought us this winter. On our Michigan Game Day segment this week, we'll recap the tournament run with Wolverine beat writer Brendan Quinn from MLive. First, a few Wolverine news and note items to get the show started this week. Team 135 concludes spring practice this Saturday with the spring game. Coach Hoke says it won't really be a game, more like the team's Tuesday and Thursday practices. He said there are a lot of players that need reps, and that's what Saturday is really all about. Just the same, it will be good to get a look at the progress the team is making, especially in the offensive and defensive lines, as well as the secondary. On Monday, Coach Hoke said he is pleased with the progress of his running backs this spring. Derek Green is in better shape, and Devion Smith also is improving, and they are getting the bulk of the carries. Brady also mentioned that Justice Hayes is also making a strong push for playing time, and Wyatt Shulman will be used as an H-back, kind of a tight end running back hybrid. Brady also said redshirt sophomore right tackle Ben Braden has also been impressive. Braden is a hulking 6'6", 320-pound tackle with only 12% body fat, which is hard to believe. Former Michigan All-American Taylor Lewan once referred to Braden as a guy with freaky athletic ability for his size. Braden is penciled in as the starting right tackle as of now. Coach Doug Nussmeier told CBS Sports this week that Devin Gardner will run less this year and be in much better shape come the fourth quarter. Nussmeier said he envisions 3 or 4 designed rushing plays per game for Gardner, not the 14-plus carries per game he put up last year. Devin said he's glad to hear that. He wants to be a passer who can run when he has to and be ready to make the big plays in the fourth quarter when the game is on the line. Five-star running back Damian Harris from Kentucky still has Michigan in his top 10 list. Some analysts think the Wolverines are losing ground, though, but Harris isn't giving any clues as to who is at the top of his list, so it's wait and see. On Sunday in Indianapolis, we witnessed a game for the ages. 2 heavyweights trading punches through 40 minutes and neither one blinking. You knew it would come down to the last tick of the clock, and it did. It was a hard-fought and valiant effort by the Wolverines, who gave everything they had and more, but had their hearts broken when Wildcat freshman Aaron Harrison hit an arcing 24-footer to salt the game away for Kentucky. Michigan had one last chance. Jordan Morgan inbounded to Nick Stauskas with just over 2 seconds left, but Nick's half-court shot went wide to the right. Coming up next on Michigan Game Day, we'll be joined by Wolverine beat writer Brendan Quinn from MLive. Brendan was with his team every step of the way this season with great coverage, and he has some interesting thoughts to share. That's next here on the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine. With us on Michigan Game Day this week to wrap up a disappointing end to a fantastic season, Michigan basketball beat writer Brendan Quinn from MLive. Great to have you back on the show, Brendan.
Great to be with you, which was under better circumstances for your listening audience, for sure.
Well, I think we all feel that way, but at the same time have to say, after it soaks in, what a great run it's been. Brendan, we've witnessed some great games in this year's NCAA tournament, highly entertaining, but Sunday's Kentucky-Michigan game has to rank right up there with the best of them, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just among, having only been in Michigan for so long, all I can compare to is other games I've either attended or been to, and that is right up there with some of the best college basketball games I've ever been to. I was trying to think of it late last night, and I was actually a 10-year-old in Philadelphia in attendance for Christian Laettner's shot against Kentucky in the regional final with the famous shot. So that'll always be number one. But in terms of tournament games I've covered, I mean, that is among the best, probably right alongside Villanova's Scotty Reynolds hit a teardropper at the buzzer against Pittsburgh in 2010 in Boston. These two games are probably the best two I've seen in person in the tournament.
Well, a lot of us during the season were so caught up in what's happening in the Big Ten following Michigan. We don't get to see a lot of other teams. We had heard about Kentucky, and I'd seen bits and pieces of them. But, when you look at Sunday, 7 of the 8 players they used were in high school at this time last year. That is one scary gathering of talent, isn't it?
Well, yeah, when you have a 6'9" McDonald's All-American who wasn't even on the team's scouting report, coming in off the bench to score 10 first-half points and completely change the dynamic of the game, that, of course, being Marcus Lee. Yeah, I mean, that's just a ridiculous collection of talent that's now all the pieces are kind of finally, the corners were found on the puzzle, and now suddenly all the pieces are able to come together. Yeah,
Sunday, at times it looked like a tip drill practice for Kentucky on the offensive glass, even when Michigan had them boxed out. And after a game like that, you can say this was the difference or that was the difference. But if you have to pick one aspect of the game and narrow it down, how well they can play on the boards and above the rim was the difference, wasn't it?
Yeah, especially when you go back and you remember the first half when Michigan had that lead up to about 10 points or so, and the shots were falling, and it looked like they might be able to put a serious push together and really try to bury Kentucky before the first half. But every single Kentucky offensive trip ended with 2 or 3 chances at the rim, and it was just constant, and it was above the rim, and just a relentless attack. Even Michigan kind of held its own for all intents and purposes, just numbers-wise on the rebounding, but it just seemed like so many of those second-chance points were just demoralizing, and that adds up over the course of the game. And I just think Kentucky might have had a little bit more bounce to it in the second half, and they only outscored them by 3. But it was all that play up top and on the rim. Ultimately doomed Michigan. They just couldn't compete with that level of athleticism. In fairness, few can.
Well, in one of your MLive recaps Sunday, you said 8 words followed Michigan around throughout the 2013-2014 season. You live by the 3, you die by the 3. You have to give it up to freshman Aaron Harrison, because on that last shot, Karis LeVert did everything you wanted defender to do to stop that shot, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was right on him, without lunging into him and fouling him, which would have been the other option. He got a hand in his face. He took away a driving lane because, I thought they were just going to drive the ball into the middle of the court and throw it up at the rim, and just to assure that there would at least be an offensive rebound opportunity. Obviously, that's what we just said, that they've been dominating that area of the game. So LeVert was right on it. I don't think he gave him too much breathing room. I don't think he anticipated a drive too much and maybe backed off him a little bit. He was as close as he could get. He grazed his hand after he shot it. Great players sometimes make great shots, and And it stinks that at some point one team's going to be on the wrong end of it. Just talk to Kansas fans from last year. Trey Burke made a Trey Burke shot, and there was very little that anyone could have done about it. And the fans and the team have to live with it. I think Aaron Harrison's shot falls firmly into that category.
Well, as you said Monday on MLive, with no regrets, this Michigan team gave fans its heart and proved it's here to stay. Absolutely no shame in losing to a Kentucky team that good, is there?
I mean, end of the day, they were a 2-point underdog in the game and lost by 3. Kentucky's a hell of a team. Kentucky was the preseason number 1 for a reason. It's a great collection of talent with a coach that is kind of on a pretty unprecedented run in NCAA tournament play. I think he's like 17-2 at Kentucky in NCAA tournament play. And that's ridiculous. So they know what they're doing, and it's a good team. And Michigan, for all intents and purposes, I would certainly say exceeded probably what anyone thought was going to happen as of Thanksgiving, when they were coming back from Puerto Rico with a slow start to the year, and after the Arizona game, when they were at 6-4 and without a marquee non-conference game or marquee non-conference win, and then they were very close to starting 0-1 in Big Ten play, but kind of pulled a win out of their backside there in Minnesota with the Zach Irvin 3-pointers. But they won that game, and then they went 8-0 in the Big Ten, and then they won the Big Ten. So yeah, I think it was a great run. It just ended with a great shot that will be remembered in NCAA tournament annals for a long, long time.
Yeah, I think that's very true, and I think what's true also is after the disappointment of Sunday's loss subsides a bit, I think Michigan fans they're going to realize what a gem of a coaching job that John Beilein did, and somewhat unexpectedly really treated us to another great ride this season. Michigan fans should be very proud of this young team and its accomplishments, shouldn't they?
Well, with Beilein, when you talk about kind of cementing his place amongst the best coaches in America, getting to a Final Four last year kind of put him into that conversation. I think this year kind of cemented the fact that he is in that conversation. And it's because sometimes teams get special players, and that player, changes how a program is viewed. But the program's still the program because it doesn't have a coach that can sustain it, or, the facilities that can sustain it. Trey Burke could fall into that category. If you go back and look at the last 25 years, only a handful of point guards have won the Rudin Award. And these guys don't come around often, and Michigan had one. So my big question when I arrived here in August was, okay, is Michigan, kind of a one-and-done story because of Trey Burke, or is this a program that is that has a foundation and is firmly among the best in the Big Ten? And that's what they proved this year. It was a totally different group of players, looked different, played different, and found similar results. So I think if there's anything to take away for Michigan fans, it's that the overall strength of the program is in a pretty good place. It's probably as good as it's been, obviously, since the early 90s. So if there's anything to maybe make the beginning of this week a little easier on folks, that would probably be it.
With us on our Michigan Game Day segment today, as we look back, take a final look back, I should say, at the disappointing loss in the Elite Eight on Sunday to Kentucky, Michigan basketball beat writer Brendan Quinn from MLive. Brendan, now we wait and see who goes, who stays, and I know it's very early to start speculating on that, and that's just how it is in college basketball these days. We all know that. Any chance that you think Nick Stauskas comes back?
Well, I mean, as a beat writer, I really try not to kind of speculate on what guys will do or say what I think guys should do. But I would certainly say of all of them, Nick is most likely to potentially pursue that. But in terms of me making a guess, I don't know. But all of the three, if But if I were a fan going to buy a jersey, I would maybe I'd maybe hold off on that one for next year.
I know it's hard, and as a beat writer, you don't like to speculate on those things, but when you look at what he's accomplished this year, Terry Mills, Michigan's color analyst on the Michigan Basketball Network, made a good point a couple of weeks ago. He said, it's a tough decision for these kids because someone like Nick Stauskas, you look at what he's accomplished this year, and you say, if you come back, do you have to do the same thing again? And can you really raise your stock? And that's what he really has to take into consideration in the next couple of weeks.
Right, and he'll learn that from the draft committee's evaluation of what the pluses and minuses are of his game and where he's projected in the draft if he chooses to leave early. And I think that is certainly the case. I mean, skill-wise, I think he's shown what he can do. Perhaps, a league GM might like to see a little more weight on him. Maybe like to see him be even a little bit faster. But, I mean, he's shown that he has an all-around game. Defense will obviously be a major question. But, yeah, how much else he can prove is certainly a conversation that will be had in the coming days.
And the other two players, of course, Glenn Robinson III has some decisions to make. I think most of us would like to see him stick around and really improve his overall game. And Mitch McGary, who still has that decision to make. Most of us would think he would really benefit by another full season to show what he can do. So tough decisions for both of those young men, too.
Well, certainly, Glenn Robinson's jump shooting is still a question mark. Made some big ones down the stretch. Of some late season games here, dating back to the layup against Purdue, the game winner. Well, yeah, there's question marks on his game. I mean, there are very few guys, even in a draft class as strong as this one. When you get outside of Wiggins, Jabari Parker, and a handful of others, Marcus Smart, there are very few guys without significant question marks to their game. The biggest question is whose upside outweighs the next guys, and that's one thing that Glenn will always have going for him. Is that his upside is huge, and everyone can see it. So that's I think Robinson more so than Stauskas is really going to have some serious conversations and really have a good grasp on where he's viewed going into this thing. With McGary, obviously the health is a major question, and I think where he is right now in his recovery also has to play a pretty serious role, because if he chooses to enter the draft and chooses to go through the process of working out for teams, well, if he's not only still slowed by the injury, but if he is also out of shape, which is a major question, how is he going to look in pre-draft workouts? How is he going to look when he goes and gives individual workouts for NBA teams that are behind closed doors? If he can't go, if he can't do that, I don't see how he can help his stock. And if he can't go perform well there, what will that do? How negatively will that impact how he's viewed? Because people are still kind of clinging to what they saw from last year's NCAA tournament run.
Yeah, a lot of questions to be answered in the next couple of weeks, so it's going to be interesting for the future of Michigan basketball. Brendan, we've seen Wisconsin twice this year. We saw Kentucky on Sunday. How do you like Wisconsin's chances against the Wildcats Saturday?
It's going to be a pretty fascinating matchup, and I'll be very curious to see how Kentucky tries to match up with Frank Kaminsky. Do they put one of the long guys? Do they put a guy like Marcus Lee on him just because of his length? What is Willie Cauley-Stein's status? Because I think that would be the matchup, but if you put the 7-footer on a 7-footer, or do they go with one of the smaller, rougher guys, the Julius Randle, and try to go at him with some muscle? And then I think Kentucky has proven that they can defend the three fairly well. When you look at Michigan finishing with 7 made threes, that sounds good, but then you realize that they averaged 9.4 makes per game over the last 11 games leading into last night. So how well do they defend the perimeter against Wisconsin? Also a huge question. How does Wisconsin match up with that athleticism that Michigan just saw? Michigan's a more athletic team than Wisconsin, and they just got out-athleted if that is an expression, all over the court. So I think it's a fascinating matchup and maybe even more of a dramatic conflict of style than what we're seeing between Michigan and Kentucky. And I think that even that one was pretty dramatic.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Saturday, Wisconsin was in a thriller of their own in that overtime game. Frank Kaminsky is one player who brings so many different aspects for the defense to worry about. He's really come on, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He was just fantastic down the stretch of that game on Saturday night. They can just do so much. They can hit you from all these places, and then he's just kind of steadfast in being able to just make good things happen offensively. Just it's when the ball finds its way to him, you're at the point where you're just kind of expecting good things to happen now.
Well, it's going to be a great weekend coming up at the Final Four, so let me ask you to put your prognosticator hat on for just a minute, Brendan. And after the dust settles next Monday, who do you think is going to be the next national champion?
I'd still probably go with Florida. I just really like them down the stretch. It's a good veteran team that makes good veteran winning plays. And you got the pedigree. Billy Donovan knows what he's doing. And it seems like it takes a lot for these guys to get rattled. I love the way Wolverton's running the point. I think they could match up. If they can beat Kentucky. They already have. And at the same time, I think they could match out with a grinded game with Wisconsin. So regardless, if they get past UConn, I just think when you look at all the different potential matchups, all the numbers would say I think Florida has the best chances of coming out on top here.
Alrighty, final question for you, Brendan. Now that your first season as Michigan basketball beat writer is over, what moment or game or even off-court situation is going to linger in your memory when you look back on the season?
That's tough and unexpected. The thing that I would probably remember the most would be there was a conversation had after the loss to Arizona when the media was gathered in the press conference room at Chrysler Center, and another member of the media mentioned how he thought that game was going to affect Michigan's NCAA tournament seeding, and I, in a voice that wasn't so low, said, excuse me, you might want to be worried a little bit more about NIT seeding at this point, because they got a lot to turn around at this point, and you're assuming a lot in terms of them making the NCAA tournament. So at the end of the day, it went from that conversation being had at a 6-4 record to 28-9 and reflecting on quite a run and a season that nearly made it to April.
I know you covered Tennessee for the last couple of years. Was this more fun than you imagined when you got the gig?
Well, certainly a lot of work. I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a great run for the program. And anytime you get to cover a team, it's all about writing the stories. And this team produced some pretty great stories this year. So, yeah, it was certainly enjoyable.
Well, you did a great job covering the team, and we look forward to what you have to say in the next couple of weeks, because there's still a lot of news to be made. And, of course, it's going to be a busy off-season, too. So we thank you for all of the times you've been on the show this season, Brendan. Again, our guest today on our Michigan Game Day segment has been Michigan basketball beat writer Brendan Quinn from MLive, and we look forward to the next chat, Brendan.
Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you this year.
Stick around. Coming up next, Wolverine Quick Hits, as we wrap it up for another week here on the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue, Michigan Wolverine. On Wolverine Quick Hits, junior forward Saisha Gori grabbed 8 rebounds to set a new single-season record, but the University of Michigan women's basketball team concluded its season with a 63-53 loss at Bowling Green in the third round of the WNIT on Thursday night at the Stroh Center. Junior guard Nicole Elmblad led the way offensively for Michigan with 15 points, 7 boards, and 2 assists. Gori joined her in double figures with 12 points to go with her 8 rebounds. Michigan shot just 40.4%, 23 for 47 from the floor, compared to 55.8%, 24 for 43 for BG. Bowling Green also won the battle on the glass, 28-27. Michigan's season is now complete. The Wolverines wrapped up their sixth 20-win season in program history, including their third straight. So the Wolverines end with a record of 20 wins against 14 losses. The number 6 ranked University of Michigan softball team continued its offensive onslaught, sweeping the season series at Penn State with a 12-4 run rule victory in 5 innings on Saturday at the Nittany Lions softball park. U of M took the 3-game set by a combined score of 40-4 and out-hit Penn State 39-8. Junior pitcher Haley Wagner kept the Nittany Lions off balance, taking a no-hitter into the 5th inning. Penn State's Carly Habits tallied Penn State's first hit with 2 outs in what would be the final frame. That catapulted the Nittany Lions into a 4-run inning, but it was not enough to prevent the mercy rule. The Maize and Blue will entertain Ohio State this weekend, beginning on Friday at the Wilpon Complex, home of Alumni Field. Tickets are available at mgoblue.com/tickets. First pitch is slated for 6 p.m. Again, the Wolverines heading into this week's action ranked number 6 in the country with an overall record of 25-6, a perfect 6-0 in the Big Ten. Michigan baseball used 9 walks and clutch 2-out hitting in scoring a season high in runs in a 12-4 win over Western Michigan on Wednesday afternoon in the 2014 home opener at the Wilpon Complex, home of Ray Fisher Stadium. Senior Kendall Patrick had a career-high 4 runs batted in, going 2 for 4 on the day. Junior Jackson Glines and Kyle Jusick drove in 3 runs apiece, while junior Eric Jacobson went 2 for 4 with an RBI. And weather permitting, Michigan back in action this week. Heading into play, the Wolverines have a record of 10-14-1 overall. As we do every week, we invite you to call our listener line with any thoughts you might have on anything Maize and Blue. It's open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. Just tell us who you are, where you're calling from, and then share your thoughts. You can also email us at theMichiganManPodcast@yahoo.com. So the number again is 313-263-4842. That's our listener line. And the email address, theMichiganManPodcast@yahoo.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Michigan Man and like us on Facebook at The Michigan Man Podcast. Our show app is available in the iTunes Store, the Android Store at Amazon.com, and the Windows 8 App Store. You can also find us on the TuneIn Radio and Stitcher.com apps. You can also listen from your laptop or desktop by subscribing for free at iTunes or going directly to our site at www.themichiganmanpodcast.com. Make sure you take the show with you wherever you go this spring and summer. Next week, we'll recap spring football and hope to have Michigan beat writer Angelique Shengelis from the Detroit News with us. We'll also put the wraps to this great basketball season with beat writer Rod Beard from the Detroit News. So make sure you come back next week for that. That's it for another week. Enjoy the spring game, and let's hope we get through the day without any serious injuries. It should be fun to watch. Have a great Wolverine week, everyone. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Take care, and until next week, as always, go blue. Thanks for listening to the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine. You can find us on the web at www.gbmwolverine.com. That's www.gbmwolverine.com. For audio posts or other fan feedback, please call our listener line at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Email fan feedback to the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. That's the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan. The Michigan Man Podcast is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!